Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our Little Italy podcast. I'm your host, Deborah Zara Kobylt. Also, we simulcast our show on my other page, Deborah Kobylt Live. And please welcome Frank Imbergamo. I'm so excited to have you, Frank. Frank is an author. Frank is a Food Network darling. He's an actor. He's been in lots of things. And he's also a former postal worker, post office worker. I mean, what a career you've had. Thanks for joining us, Frank. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, Deborah.
This is very exciting. You know, you and I have a friend, right, in common, right? Dan Lothian. He's interviewed you as well. Yeah, yes, Dan and I worked at CNN together. In fact, he was the senior White House correspondent for CNN. Right. So we started our careers together, which is really cool. So he was so excited.
I was on his show before.
Yeah, when he found out you were coming. What's that?
Yeah, I was on one of his shows before, about a year ago, a couple of years ago.
Yeah. When he saw that you were coming on our show today, he was so excited. He was texting me and his wife too. So they say hello. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about you. I want to start. Your family is from southern Italy, right? Sicily and Avellino, correct?
My father's side was from Sicily, from Riese, Sicily. It's a province of Caltanissetta. And my mother's side was from Avellino, which is right outside of Naples. So
you know, I've told you, my family is from the Avellino region in a small little mountain. Yeah, a small little mountaintop area. So we're probably related, Frank. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, we'll probably cook the same too.
Probably, I doubt it. I'm not that good, but same recipes, right?
That's correct.
So you were born here, right? Or were you born there? Tell me your story.
Born in Boston. Yep, Boston, the North End, Little Italy. I was born and raised there, and I lived there all the way until '95. Then I moved here in Medford, Mass, which is only like 4.5 miles north of the North End of Boston. So it's very close.
So you kind of stayed in the hood, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because a lot of people in my town in Medford, my city of Medford, where I live now, there's a lot of former North End people, Italians that moved out here. So I run into a lot of people. So.
Frank, I'm loving your accent. I have to tell you, I'm from back east, but south of where you are, from Jersey and New York. And whenever I hear an accent from back east, or there's Boston, New York, I just feel like I'm home. So you could just keep talking. I love it. But as a kid, I love to talk about the Italian traditions you grew up with as a kid. Tell me a little bit about growing up in Boston. Grandma and mom used to do a lot of the cooking, right? And you really picked up on it. Talk about it.
That's correct. Yeah, growing up in the North End in Boston, Little Italy, in my childhood, when I grew up, everybody was Italian. The whole community is about maybe around 13,000 people, and 99.5% were all Italian. So growing up, we grew up in the tenement building, brownstone buildings, which had 4 or 5 apartments. Some had 10 apartments. There's even been some buildings that had like 20 families in one. And everybody knew each other. It was like everybody, it was like family. Like you walk in the building when you're going up to your apartment, and if the door was open, they would say, "Hey, come in, have some pizza, have some to eat," And it was like a very friendly atmosphere. It was like everybody was like family growing up, And on the weekends, my mother always cooked on the weekends, and my grandmother used to come over. They used to make all these dishes, and and I used to watch them. And then my grandmother said, "Okay, watch me do this, watch me do that," and that's just how I learned, And I didn't have to go to culinary school because I grew up in a culinary atmosphere. I used to member of some social club. A lot of the people that I remembers were restaurant owners, and that helped me also to learn how to cook. Because if you watched them on Saturday, they would have all these different meals. Like on a Saturday, they'd have calamari and the pasta, they'd tripe, and really old-fashioned type dishes. And that's the way it was in those days. And growing up, like I could say, when I grew up as a kid, my community on Hanover Street, that was the main drag of the North End, Little Italy. There may be about 20 restaurants. Now there's over 100 in 1 square mile. It's
wow.
The North End is booming as far as we kept the Italian culture. We have like the most restaurants in one community, most Italian restaurants around in the whole state. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Are you bigger than the New York Little Italy or no? Because New York Little Italy almost...
Well, New York used to be bigger, but the North End in Boston, the Little Italy where I come from, is bigger now because in New York City, a lot of the Asians moved in and they made a lot of Chinese restaurants. And they're taking over Mulberry Street, it's called.
No,
I've
it's
been,
true because I grew up going to the Little Italy in New York, right? And of
yeah,
course, it borders on Chinatown. And the last
that's
time I was
correct.
there a few years ago, it did seem like it was getting smaller. And I thought, wow,
Yeah,
how could this be? But
yeah,
and we've got our Little Italy's here in California. We've got a beautiful one in San Francisco and San Diego, trying to develop one in Los Angeles. So Little Italy's are like a jewel, right? They
yeah.
really
I've been
are
to
because
several of them. I've been to North Beach, and I've been to the San Diego one. I've been to the
yeah.
Philadelphia one. I've been to a lot of them. I've been to Providence, Rhode Island, the Federal Hill. I've been to like so many Little Italies. I try to visit them as I travel.
Yeah. So you grew up cooking a lot with mom and grandma. I know that you lost your dad. He was very young. You were very young, correct?
That's correct. Yep. My father was 33 when he passed away of an aneurysm, and my mother was a
Wow.
widow at 25. She brought up 4 kids. Sometimes I don't know how the show she did it, but she was devoted to her children, and we all worked out. Everything worked out good for us. We all had nice jobs and went to school. And me and my brother worked as we were both managers in the postal service. My youngest sister was a vice president in the stock market area, like in Boston. And then my other
Yeah.
oldest was a loan officer in the bank. So we all did pretty well for ourselves.
That's pretty magnificent, Mom. Thank you so much for the great job that you've done. Really, that's wonderful. You said you worked for the post office. Talk to me about that. Was that because you were a career post office worker, right? I mean, like
Yeah, I did.
your whole
Yeah,
career, hang on a minute. It's like your whole career in film, certainly in cooking on the Food Network, because now we're like kind of going over there. Started a little later in life, right? Because you
oh,
were
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I actually started getting involved with the cooking in the cookbook at the end of my career. I was still at the post office when I won the contest. And then I retired, or maybe 6 months after that, I retired. So, yeah, I worked 32 years in the Postal Service, and I was a supervisor for about 25 out of the 32. And,
wow.
and then
Wait,
after
and you
that,
said you won a contest. Tell people what you're talking about
yeah,
there.
Emeril Lagasse had submitted something on the web that was having an Italian contest, and he wanted you to submit your recipe, why you wanted to be on the show, a bio, the whole 9 yards. Which my wife and I, we got together and we put it all together. We sent it in, and I was in work one day, and I got a call from the producer and says, "I'm from the Food Network, and we got your recipe and from the Emerald's contest, and we just want to tell you you're in the top 100." Now there was
Oh,
1,500 contestants. So I didn't
yeah.
think nothing of it. 2 weeks later, I got another call from the producer, and he said that I was in the top 25. So now I'm getting excited. I'm saying, gee, I got a chance to win this. It's only 25 people. Maybe we can win. Then I got a call 3 days later. He said, yeah, we're coming to Boston. You're the top winner. Emeril picked you. And he made your recipe last night for 100 people. And we're coming to
Oh,
Boston next Thursday. They came to Boston, and they met me in an Italian butcher shop, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I was buying the ingredients to make the meatballs. So we did some walking and talking through the North End in Boston, in Little Italy. And then they came to my home in Medford, and they stayed like about 8 hours. And I made a whole product for them. I made all the gravy. We call it gravy. Some people call it sauce. But that's a whole show. But anyway, I made the meatballs and the gravy. We spent the whole day. We ate. And then a week after that, they flew me and my wife over to New York City to the Food Network studios. And I was on Emeril Live with Emeril Lagasse. He picked 4 winners, and he recreates the whole 4 winnings. And I was the first one up.
wow.
And then he calls me up. He goes, "Hey, Frank, you want to come up and smell the gravy?" I said, "Yeah." Everybody was clapping. I went up there, and he made me smell the gravy, taste the gravy. And we were doing some talking back and forth. He was a nice guy, very nice guy.
Okay.
And we had a lot.
Everybody must have loved you, Frankie. Okay, talk about it. Right? The guy from Boston who works at the post office, who wins the contest, who suddenly ends up in New York on the Food Network in one of the most popular shows. That's like a big deal, right?
It is, yeah. It was very exciting. I
Oh my
was
gosh.
excited because I said, gee, I said, I don't know if I can win this or not, and then it happened. And this is how the movie started. We'll talk about that. This is how I got started in the movie industry.
Hang on though. Let's talk about that meatball recipe. Can we?
Okay.
Like what was
Yeah.
so great about that meatball recipe that grandma and mom passed on to you that Emerald loved so much?
Well, it has to do with the quality of the cheese I use, the Pecorino Romano cheese. I buy the good quality. I get the breadcrumbs in the bakery. I use fresh parsley. So I use all these fresh ingredients, and I use 80-20, for the hamburger. I use all beef. Some people use veal, pork, and they mix it all up. But I use 100% beef, and I use the chuck meatballs because the chuck gives it more moisture. There's more fat in it. If you use like a real 90%, they come out kind of dry.
Yeah. So and then it's you're saying it's in the Pecorino Romano. Is there a particular type that you like? Go ahead.
Yeah, I buy a Locatelli. It's called. It's really good. It's from Italy, imported, and I buy it and I grate it up. I get it grated already. They grate it for you in the store. And we have a lot of specialty stores where I live, and also in Little Italy. Sometimes I go down there on a Saturday and I'll stop at a couple of the stores and buy the fresh ingredients, fresh cheese. Yeah, so that.
Earlier we were talking about gravy versus sauce. Can you educate our audience a little bit on the difference between gravy and sauce?
Yeah, growing up as a kid, when we put meat, anytime you put meat into a red sauce, it became, they call the Sunday gravy. If you didn't put meat into a red sauce, it becomes marinara. So we always were brought up with saying the gravy. Like if I went to the butcher shop, I would say, hey Pat, I want to get 2 pounds of all beef hamburger. I'm making a gravy today. This is how everyone, and I grew up in my community, we all called it gravy. So
right.
It's a Sunday gravy. That's how it became. A lot of people, they think, sauce, gravy goes on brown, on turkey or roast beef, that's why you call it gravy. So I try to explain it the best I can,
Well, also those of us who are from the Avellino region, right? Like I am as well. Right. It was also gravy at my home in New Jersey. So I know what you're talking about. Other homes, it was sauce. My home, it was gravy. So, okay, you're on the Food Network, right? What's everybody thinking back at the post office, over in Boston or Medford?
Oh my God, I got so many phone calls and emails and texts, and everybody was wild. They were so happy, they were proud, And so when that happened, it happened in the summer. It was on TV in the middle of August. So now a lot of people watched it and they were calling and then after when I went on the Emeril show, I took a copy of my recipe. I took about 200 copies. So after the show, it was over, people were coming up to me. I passed out my recipe to everybody. So they'd have it. Everybody was asking me for. I figured they would ask you for a copy. So I asked Emeril if it was okay. He said, yeah, you can give them all. So I gave them everybody a copy of the recipe, the meatball and gravy recipe, the one I won. Recipe.
Talk to me. Incredible. Talk to me about the cookbook. When was that born?
My cookbook was, I wrote that in 2003, and I was on the Emeril show 2005. So I sent my recipe in. This is how I won from my cookbook. It's called The Good Life. And it's a hardcover book, and it's on the market. I have it in the local communities now. I took it off Barnes and Noble because I wanted to put more on the small stores, which I have in the North End next to the Paul Revere House called the Boston Gift Shop, and a couple of the local stores will be getting some now around here.
I like that, and we can order it, right, and get it shipped to us as well.
Yeah, you're going to call the Boston Gift Shop in Boston. It's on North Square in Boston, and they'll send it out to you.
What's your favorite recipe from the book?
Well, naturally, the meatballs are probably the number one. Number two was eggplant parm and chicken parm are very, very popular. A lot of people ask me for those recipes. I used to write it right down for them before the cookbook, and I used to give them the recipe right there. Eggplant, a lot of people like the eggplant. Yeah, eggplant parm, very popular.
That was popular in my house too. It's got to be that Avellino thing. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Between the chicken parm, although I don't know if they cook the chicken parm in Italy. I'm not sure. That seems to be more of an American thing. But the eggplant, certainly. What were you going to say? Go ahead.
Well, sometimes I do is I put a layer of eggplant parm and a layer of chicken parm. I'll make 4 layers. I'll make 2 layers each, and I'll mix it all, put it all together. So some people call that's like having an eggplant rollatini, they have in food in a restaurant. You have it's similar to that, and it's a good dish, very, very tasty. People like that. And then I have haddock pizziola. A lot of people like that.
What did you say?
I make a haddock pizziola.
Pizziola. I love the pizziola. Oh my gosh, you're bringing me back. let me confess something to you, okay, Frank. Let me confess. You know how like your grandmother and your mother would like bring you in the kitchen. For me,
Yeah.
it was like get out of the kitchen because I guess I made a big mess, and no matter what I did, it was like something falling on the floor. Like
Right.
that really is. And to this day, I'm not the greatest cook because I think I was a little clumsy. And I kind of wish they kept me in there, you know, to learn a little bit. And I'm still a little skittish in the kitchen because something will go flying, or I don't know, I'll forget to turn the oven on and sitting in there for a couple of hours. So yeah, I didn't quite get what you got, but I'll eat it. That's for sure.
Haddock, well, haddock, it's a very simple recipe. It's haddock, it's filleted haddock, and you just put it in a casserole dish or a lasagna pan. And you put some tomato sauce on the bottom, and then you put tomato sauce on all over, and you put some fresh oregano and black pepper and a little garlic powder, and you bake it for about 20 minutes, and it comes out so moist, you know, white, and the fish comes out nice and white, and it's very, very tasty. And when you're cooking it, it smells like, because of the oregano, it smells like you're making pizza. That's how they got the name, pizzaiola.
Pizziola. That's right. Pizziola.
Because of the oregano, makes the house smell like pizza.
Let's talk a little bit, please, about how this then parlayed you into a film career. You have starred or been, you know, in productions, films with so many incredibly well-known people, from Sandra Bullock to Betty White to Adam Sandler, who's become sort of a friend of yours, right? Talk to me about that first.
Yeah, Adam Sandler, the first movie I did with him was called Grown Ups. I worked with him in that, and we became friendly because in between sets we were going to play basketball. Like, you know, like we were in a place that had a basketball court, and on the break I was playing basketball with Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, David Spade, and Kevin James. We were playing like 2-on-2, and then, you know, we all played together, shooting hoops, and we had a lot of fun, you know. And then after I kept working in movies, I got to know him. I saw him 2 or 3 more times. That's my boy. I played a prison guard when he was in prison. Actually, it was with Susan Sarandon was his wife. She was in jail. He was visiting her, and I was playing a prison guard. We became friendly, and now everything. After that, we did a few more movies. He would say, "Hey, Frank, how are you? Give me a high five. How you doing? How's everything?" He's very, very sociable guy, very friendly guy, a good guy, and we became friendly with that, you know.
Did you ever cook for him?
He's supposed to come this summer here to make a movie, you know.
So, oh, have you cooked for him at all? Did you bring any food on the set or no?
No, the only one I cooked for was David O. Russell, the American Hustle, the director. I cooked for him, Jennifer Lawrence, and Christian Bale, and a few other the actors. What happened was I was playing. I'm in the movie American Hustle, and I'm serving the food to Jennifer Lawrence and Christian Bale. So after that happened, Angela Perry, the owner of the Boston Casting, she told David that Frankie's a real cook, you know. So he goes. So next day, I got a phone call. She goes, David wants to know, can you make 3 trays of eggplant parm for us? So I said, okay.
Oh, I love it.
So that was on a Saturday morning. So I went out and bought the ingredients. I made it, and Sunday morning I dropped it off at her house, and they were all sitting in the yard. But I couldn't stay that day because I was doing an independent film. I had to go someplace else to film, you know. So, but I talked to them for a few minutes, and I met them on set anyway. So they were good people, nice people, very friendly. You know, Christian Bale's a nice guy. David O. Russell, great guy. They're great people. I've never had I never seen anything bad about them. You know, I know people say, oh, they're snobby and all that, but that's not really true. You know, you have to really get to know them, you know.
Well, you know, people are guarded, especially if they're well known, right? They can be very guarded because they don't know if you're letting somebody in, what they're really interested in. You know, I'm sure that you found that.
Yeah, you're right. That's correct. Yeah. So I did that for that. That's the only I cooked for some of the people on my independent films, you know, small sets. I was a lead role in an independent film called DJ Stand the Man. I played a photographer.
Oh, yeah.
The guy that wrote it, Matthew Fisher, he did a great job. And also, I'm in a web series called Pizza Makers. I don't know if you know about that.
Pizza Makers. Where is that? Where can we find that?
You can find that on YouTube. You can find it on Facebook on the Pizza Makers, but we don't spell it like a pizza. We spell it Pizzer Makers, Pizza Makers. And the director did that on purpose. his name is Chris Palermo. He did a great job writing it, and he directed it and writing it. We did 12 episodes, and we've been written up in the Boston local papers, and we even came in second place in a contest, a comedy festival. We came in second, and we did 12. Now we just started doing this podcast. He has a good idea. I'm working with him on a project. We're revisiting all the episodes, and we're doing an audio podcast on Facebook. We did last week. We did 2. We did one this morning. It'll be every Friday. It'll be on Facebook or on the Pizza Makers page or on YouTube.
Oh, that's really cool. Is it an audio and video, or is it audio?
Video. It's just audio, but what he'll do is he'll put like a video underneath it of that particular episode. You know, like we did episode 3 today. When you go on episode 3 on Friday, you'll see the clippings of the episode we filmed. You know.
Oh, that's amazing. So, I mean, talk to me about Betty White. Oh, you were also in a film with Danny Aiello. Love Danny Aiello. Also, The Pink Panther 2 with Steve Martin. Talk about both of those first. Then we'll get to Betty. Then we'll get to Betty.
Betty White was in the movie with us in The Proposal, and when we were having lunch, Betty kept up to me, goes, "Hey, Frank, sit down with me, have some lunch." So I said, "Betty, I just ate." She goes, "Come on, just sit down. I can't eat. I got a big salad here." So we sit down and we ate, and we talked for about 45 minutes. And she was telling me about the pets and all that. You know, she was a big pet lover, and we were talking about that. But she was a very down-to-earth person. What a great woman. I felt so bad she passed away because I haven't seen her since The Proposal, but she was very, very nice to me, and we, you know, it was a shame. I know she lived a long life, but I felt bad when she died. You know.
Well, you know, because she's somebody that you always feel like will be there. You know, there's no doubt about it. Long life or not, life is actually so short that you just always felt like you turn on the TV and there she'd be. So I get that. But what a wonderful memory working with her, right? Wow.
Well, that was great. That was fantastic. Yeah. And we filmed that scene at the Beverly Airport, and I'm coming off the plane with Sandra Bullock. We were supposed to be landing in Sitka, Alaska. And I was supposed to make sure she didn't fall. She had high heels on coming down the stairs, and I'm right behind. I'm like on the side of her, you know, I'm trying to make sure she don't fall because it was crazy. It was a good movie. The Proposal was really, really nice. Now, talking about, now you wanted to mention Danny Aiello, Stiffs.
Oh, love him. And the Stiffs, you said Stiffs?
Yeah, it's called Stiffs. It's about the funeral business. And Danny Aiello's a hearse driver, and he's part of he works for the funeral parlor. And I played a mourner, and I'm going into the funeral parlor, and he gives me a hug, and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear about your loss." And we say a couple of words here and there, and then a few words I say at the coffin. I was supposed to be part of the family that passed away, the woman who passed away.
Right.
And, the movie Stiffs is about these people that own the funeral parlor. They were hiring all these thugs to go kill people so they could have more wakes because they weren't doing.
Oh, that's brilliant! Oh, that's really
they weren't
funny.
Doing that well, you know. So that was a lot of fun. Then we had an after party. And Danny Aiello got up there and sang at the event. We went to like a hotel, and they had this big stage, and Danny Aiello was up there. He sings. He made a CD.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know. You know, he does like he does like the Sinatra type music, you know, things like that. You know.
I did know that. I'm a big fan of his. I was a big fan of his. I think he's outstanding. Talk to me about Steve Martin. Now, he's someone that I've always read about. I've never interviewed him. Is sort of a quiet, guarded guy on set, right? Is that true?
Yeah. Steve Martin is very he's very more to himself. Like a lot of people he didn't approach him. I did because I was in a couple of scenes with him. So we talked about when this scene I was in, there was a fire going on, and he was coming down from the balcony. And when he came down on the rope, I'm in front of him, and he said, "I'm going to splash water on you." And he jumps in the puddle, and I get all wet. I got a nice suit on, you know. So we talked a few, but he's a nice guy though. And then Andy Garcia, he was funny. Andy Garcia was in that movie.
Gosh, you've been in films with everyone. Is there someone that you're like, just gosh, on your bucket list that you absolutely are hoping to get cast with?
Well, I work with Mark Wahlberg a lot, and I work with like I said, Adam Sandler and Christian Bale. I worked a few movies with him. Well, Robert De Niro, I never worked in a movie with him. I worked in one movie, Joy, but I was just played like I was only a guest at the. It was like in an auditorium, you know, just like in a, like a movie. Yes, it was a small part, but I did see him on set a couple of times. But I would like to work with Al Pacino. You know, I think he's a great actor.
He's incredible actor. Also a very, very quiet man. Really quiet guy. Just such a terrific actor. You know, all of this work when you were at the post office and, you know, learning to cook the meatballs, right? With grandma and mom. Did you ever expect any of this to be part of your life? Because you worked how many years at the post office?
I spent almost 33 years, 32 and a half years. Yeah. And I started very young. I started right out of high school. I started I worked a different job before that for about 3 years, and then I worked in a bank, and then I went to the post office at the age of 21. So I spent most of my life in the postal service, and turned out good though. You know, I got a good pension, and I did my time. So now I got time to do all the stuff I want to do. You know.
Yeah. So what are you doing now? Are you still acting? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing a couple. There's a couple of movies coming soon. There's one that's out now with Paul Giamatti. I may work in that. It's called The Holdovers. I may be working. The Boston Strangler wrapped already, so I'm not going to be in that one. So there's a few movies coming now. I just found out today there's going to be about 6 movies coming in the next couple of months.
That you're in?
Yeah, I'll be in all of them. Yeah, because I'm with the Screen Actors Guild, and they call us to work in movies. And you know, if I want to work, I work. If I don't want to, I don't have to. But I usually work in all the movies. You know, so around
where do you generally film back east, or do they fly you out here? Like, what do you do?
No, generally all New England. We do we do a lot of stuff in Providence, Rhode Island. We do Boston. We do all the suburbs. The governor just signed off on a permanent tax incentive for the production companies. So now they all want to come here, because before they had to vote on it every 2 years. Now the governor says, well, why should we vote on it? Let's make it permanent, which he did. So now Disney and Lionsgate, Paramount, they all want to come here, and we're going to be having a lot of movies pretty soon. You know, we're called Hollywood East. Like, this is like Hollywood East, Boston.
Well, you've got to give the companies incentive to come, right? And give them that, and they will go.
They spend a lot of money here too, you know, the city, the state. They spend a lot of money.
For those people who would love to get into acting, or would just fantasize about being on the Food Network or one of the many TV shows, what advice do you give them? Because it's not really exactly like this was your goal, right? It just sort of happened, although you did seize an opportunity, right? You saw a contest for a recipe and you went for it. And it's amazing how the rest of your life sort of like fell into place. What advice would you give to people who...
Well, you have to work hard. You have to really work hard at your craft. You have to go out there, whether it's an extra part, it's a featured extra, a principal role, speaking role, whatever it is, you have to accept it and go out there and work and network with people. See, networking is very, very important in this field, because this is how I got involved with independent films and voiceovers and, you know, magazine write-ups and magazine covers. This all pertain to networking with people, you know, that's in the industry. I'm a member of the New England Models Group, and I do print work for them, like, you know, things like that. I do a lot of different things, not just acting, you know, so cooking, cookbooks, print work, voiceovers. I've done 10 commercials and voiceovers. And,
oh, wow.
You know, it's a lot of fun too, you know. I'm retired.
It is fun.
You know, and we have no kids. My wife still works for the Postal Service. I should be getting out pretty soon. And so I have the time, you know, and that's a big factor too, you know. So that means a lot.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're very...
Go out there, put your name in. You know, you have to go to like the Boston casting, sign up, let them call you for movies, and just make sure you're very professional. You be on time. You make sure you wear the clothes they tell you to wear, and make sure you get there on time. You know, you have to listen to them what they say, and don't, you know, you can't slack off. If you start slacking off, you're not going to make it in this business, you know, because they'll send you home. They don't care. You know, they don't want people like that. They want people to be reliable, dependable, and you have to go there and do a good job.
So what are you cooking up for the weekend, Frank?
I don't know yet. This is St. Patrick's Day weekend. That's but see, I make an Italian boiled dinner. We don't use the cab. The Italian boiled dinner is, we use smoked shoulder and we use escarole and we put pepperoni in it with the potatoes and the vegetables. That's an Italian twist to the Irish one, you know. Now I like the other one too. I like the original one, the corned beef, but we make a little of each, you know. Some people don't. Yeah. Some people like the Italian way. Some people like the American, you know. So, but this weekend, I don't know if I'm going to make, maybe call, my wife's half Irish, so she likes the corned beef. We'll probably go out and have a corned beef dinner at a restaurant. I don't make it in the house, the corned beef, that one there. You know, so sometimes if I have company or family come over, like my, you know, we'll our friends, I'll make it. But this year I'm not going to make it. I'm going to go out for the restaurant and have it. You know.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you on our Little Italy podcast, and I hope to meet you out here someday. That would really be wonderful. And will you stay in touch with us and let us know what your next project is that you're going to be in?
Definitely.
That'd be
Thank
great.
You for having me. And give me when you get a chance, text me your address. I'm going to send you a copy of my cookbook.
Oh, I would love that. I mean, I didn't want to ask, but hey, if you're going to offer, I'll take it. Because you know what, I'm serious. I would absolutely love your recipe for the meatballs. I really would.
Send me a mailing address and I'll send it out to you this week. Okay.
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait. Frank Imbergamo, a delight. You really are such a delight. I can see why they all love you on set. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure on the Little Italy podcast. I cannot wait to get the cookbook. When I get it, I'll ring you up and I'll let you know.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm glad it worked out. Right, we had a little bit of technical problems, but we figured it out.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, thank God we overcame that. That's good. So thank you for having me.
Sure, that's showbiz, right? Anyway, everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Little Italy podcast. I'm your host, Deborah Zara Kobylt. The show is also simulcast on Deborah Kobylt Live. We'll see you. Please look up Frank and his cookbook and some of the work that he's done on his IMDb. Wait, how do you say that? I'm getting it mixed up. Yeah, IMDb. It's like, oh my gosh, I had a complete brain freeze. Wow. Yeah, that too. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.